Welcome back, ladies and gents, to episode number 5 of the Competitive Edge Sports Podcast. Here with my gracious partner.
Cole Ratton, and we had a great week of college football. We'll check around the scores. We got Louisville getting upset by Kentucky. That really throws a wrench in Florida State's.
That was an awesome game. That was really fun.
Too bad I didn't watch it. I was too busy watching the other 11 o'clock game.
I was watching. Oh yeah, I was watching. I was flipping back and forth between the main event of the day.
I was only watching the game.
Oklahoma State BYU, real tight one there, going into double OT.
Overtime.
40-34 your final score out of Stillwater. Just got a thought on that. Maybe BYU maybe score a few fucking points in the second half and you would have won the game.
Well, BYU does suck.
Washington State, real tight one there. Washington sneaks out 24-21 with a walk-off field goal.
Mm-hmm.
I actually saw on ESPN that kid that kicked the walk-off got a scholarship right after the game.
Oh, he should. He just solidified
Did
Washington.
you see his face, though? His face is just, like, smushed.
Oh, it's, like, caved in.
Yeah, it's weird.
Is he fat, too? I like seeing the fat college kickers.
Like Mevis for Missouri.
They're so funny to look at.
Florida State, Florida, real tight game there in the late window of Saturday.
I think that game shows that Florida State they need Jordan Travis.
Oh, yeah.
I'll say it right now before we get into it. Louisville's going to upset Florida State on Saturday.
Okay. Florida State 24-15, your final score out of Gainesville, Florida. Real tight game up until kind of the very end. Florida State started to pull away a little bit. Georgia Tech, surprisingly tight game here, 31-23. Georgia struggled a little bit there.
Yeah. We look at all these scores, they're real close. The rivalry weekend, as we called it this weekend, the last weekend of regular season college football. I swear the games are always close, except when you look at the Friday games. I mean, like Oregon State.
Yeah.
That was a blowout.
31-7.
That was a blowout. Oregon just flexed its muscles. Bo Nix put himself as the front runner for the Heisman. Oregon State, not ready yet. They're not ready to go be a big team yet. And then you had like Texas and Tech. Texas beat the goddamn shit out of Texas Tech. They put Arch Manning in the game. That's how bad they were beaten.
Yeah,
even though apparently a Texas Tech player like hit Malik Murphy on the sideline and gave him a concussion.
He gave him a concussion?
Yeah, so that's why Malik Murphy didn't play. That's why he saw Arch go in. And then like Oklahoma TCU, even though it was close, it was I would say I wasn't in doubt of Oklahoma losing that game at all.
Let's get into a very, very eventful game down in Auburn. The Iron Bowl did not disappoint this year at all. Peyton Thompson, 5 for 16, 98.
That's not Peyton. That's Peyton Thorne.
Oh, sorry. Peyton Thorne, my bad. 5 completions. That should be an all-time low. 91 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. Jalen Milroe. I mean, if this guy had been playing like this all game or all year, this guy would be the Heisman front runner by a mile.
He's been balling out since he got the starting job back after they lost to Texas. He's been absolutely balling.
Yeah. 16 20 for 24, 259, 2 touchdowns through the air, and 18 carries for 107 on the ground. Now, I mean, Jermaine Burton had a great game as well. 27-24 Alabama, but I want to get into the overtime. Or no. Was it overtime or was it fourth?
No, it was the last play of the game.
Last play of the game.
I don't
fourth and 30.
Yeah, it's 4th and 30. And then I don't understand how you don't go when you do like a Hail Mary defense. It normally goes you have 3 guys on the line and then you have a guy in the back for the jump ball. He's there to bat the ball down. The guys on the side are there to catch the deflection and knock it to the side. And the guy in front is supposed to be hand fighting with the receiver. But then they did that on the right side. But on the left side, you had one-on-one, which is what you never want to do. You never want to go one-on-one because you have moments that could happen like that, where it's in the back of the end zone, throws a good ball, makes a great catch.
Push off.
but they didn't call it.
There's a push there.
There maybe was they didn't
If
call
you
it.
watch the replay, you know that Bama wide receiver had a little bit of an extension.
But they didn't call it. That's like,
No,
and that's one of the maybe many missed calls of this shitty officiated weekend in college and the NFL.
Yeah.
Auburn got out to an early lead, ran the ball, tried their hardest to keep the ball away from Alabama, but in the second half, just too much. Alabama wasn't gonna hold being a shitty team for a while, so they really bowed up, showed up in the second half. Peyton Thorne, the former Michigan State quarterback, when Kenneth Walker carried their ass to like number 7 in the country.
Yeah,
he's awful. He had like 2 good plays, and they're only with his legs.
I was thoroughly surprised that they had a actual chance at this game. Alabama, despite you could look at the score and say that's a loss
but
in
the
itself.
Iron Bowl's always tough.
Yeah, it's always
the
tough.
Iron Bowl's always tough, and it's road. It was at night, but it's the Iron Bowl.
You look at it. You can look at like Texas OU, Michigan, Ohio State, all these rivalry games that are played. You're like, oh well, you almost lost that one, so you're not very good. No, it's a rivalry. That's why it's very interesting to watch. It's because you're rivals. You play each other a lot. You know each other. Texas OU. Texas was ranked 3rd in the nation, and OU beat them. Auburn, unranked, almost beat Bama, who's 8 at the time. 8 at the time. And even Georgia Tech almost pulled off the upset versus Georgia.
Yeah, like I said earlier, the scores of all those games on Saturday are really close. It just shows you that no matter the college football is like week in week out. There can be upsets, there can be close games, there can be blowouts. It's why college football is growing.
It's the best sport ever to watch.
That's why it's growing. It's getting a lot of traction because you never know what's going to happen week in and week out compared to other sports or the NFL. Like in the NFL, when let's say the Cowboys play the Panthers, like they did, everybody knew the Cowboys were going to win. There was no it's in Carolina. It could happen. No, it's just it's different, and that's why college football is so great.
We got a lot of good games, but
the game up north in Ann Arbor, the Michigan Wolverines
go blue, baby,
will get the 30-24 win over Ohio State.
Give it to me right here.
JJ McCarthy,
Hold on, I'm gonna take over here. All you guys that doubted my pick that Michigan was gonna win, all you Ohio State nerds, like I said from the beginning, sitting in the background, all this. They didn't boat race them, but I could have. They did actually. Fuck them. All you guys in the background doing nothing, picking your nose, being Ohio State fans. You're just nothing. You're worthless losers. It's always right there. It's right there. They were always the better team. You thought you had a chance. You didn't. Go big blue. Now, get right into it. JJ McCarthy, not very impressive. But he got the job done. Blake Corum, extremely impressive.
I'd say Blake Corum was probably the best short yardage back in college. Going into the draft, he's probably going to be the best running back in the draft, just because of his able to jump cut, how physical. He reminds me a lot, maybe not as fast, but Isaiah Pacheco.
Yeah,
They both run so hard, and they're really good in the short yardage. Like when it was 4th and 1 on the 1 to go get that touchdown get the first touchdown of the game. Everybody knew it was going to Blake Corum, and the fact that he runs so hard, and Michigan offensive line is really good. No one's gonna stop Blake Corum on the 1-yard line. No one is. And then I know it says 18 for 30, 2 interceptions. The first interception Okay, I'll give it to you. That was bad.
The other one,
That was
man.
bad. But the second one,
Oh,
I don't think you can put blame on Kyle McCord for the second one
mm.
because the offensive line didn't block that play.
Got hit as he threw too.
I mean, he got hit as he threw. I put the interception on the
He almost
offensive
didn't
line,
catch it either. He kind of got under it.
and then also the close call. I say in the end zone that was an interception. I said that was interception in the end zone. I never saw true control of the football, but I can't. I wasn't there to call the game. I can't change the rule.
Chit chat over here. All I'm hearing is chit chat.
Now,
That's all I'm seeing right here.
good.
Seeing this M right here.
The good thing that came out of this game, for if you NFL talent wise, Marvin Harrison played a really good day, really good game, and played a really good team. And he showed that he can separate himself from good corners, find holes in the defense. I mean, he had 5 receptions for 118 yards and a touchdown. He probably showed himself, if there's any doubt about it, that he's the best wide receiver in the draft, and he might be the best player in the draft. Travion Henderson. Yeah. Yeah.
The best player.
The best player.
Overall. That is wow. That's just bad. That's just bad. He's a great player. He's definitely the number one wide receiver in his class. He's definitely a top 10 player in the class. He is not. I could argue top 5. He's not the best.
Who's better?
Who do you think I'm going to say?
I'm going to say Caleb Williams.
Caleb Williams.
I'd go off of this year and go Caleb Williams has a down year. Even though I think he's going to be a good quarterback.
Down year? Their team is at a down year. He's been putting up numbers still.
But he's throwing a lot more. He's turning the ball over more times than he did last year. That's because he's having. And also the controversy that's going to come with getting Caleb Williams, what comes into your locker room. I'd rather take.
He's a crybaby.
I'm not saying
a crybaby who needs a damn tampon.
I'm not saying that Marvin Harrison is going to be the number 1 pick, but if I had a top 5 pick, and my team, let's look at a team like the Bears, who are going to have the number 1 overall.
The Bears.
I don't think the Bears should go draft a quarterback. I believe in Justin Fields. He's in a shitty situation. Yeah, a shitty situation.
That's
if you can get him, maybe I don't want to say another wide receiver because he's got DJ Moore, but just the Bears need some linemen.
Honestly, Panthers, you could draft them. Panthers need a wide receiver, dude.
I think that's where he's expected to go.
Or you could go. He'll probably go to the Bears, but here's what I would expect. I think the Bears may try to trade that pick out to someone who actually needs a quarterback. Because Justin Fields is the damn good quarterback. He needs help. He needs a line help for sure.
He needs to stay healthy.
If you watch that Monday night game, they need offensive line help. They need something. They need a free agent or something.
So back to college. Michigan, Sharon Moore, the acting head coach, I think he's going to get offered head coaching jobs.
For sure.
He coached the game like how any...
Damn near perfect.
Well, he coached the game like how a kind of non-experienced coach would, right? Going for it, but being super aggressive. The 4th and 1 at the goal, Harbaugh probably would have went for it.
Yeah,
but the 4th and 5 from around the midfield.
Why not?
Because there's about 3 minutes left. There's a lot of time left, and John Harbaugh has a lot of scars from this game, and maybe he would have punted and played field position because
Jim Harbaugh, not John.
Jim. Whatever, Harbaugh, the bitch Harbaugh, the damn Harbaugh brothers, whatever you want to call them. I feel like he would play it safe because at that point in the game, you realize points are a premium. You're not going to get them on. If you don't get it on 4th down, you give Ohio State the ball with really good field position, and then it could swing. They could score a touchdown, go up. They could go up 10, I think, at that point, and the game could potentially get out of hand. And then for Ryan Day, he had some tough calls, like at the beginning of the game.
Ryan Day should go somewhere else.
He's a good coach.
He's a great coach, but dude, you can't beat Big Blue. Well, you can't beat them.
Harbaugh couldn't for a little bit. Harbaugh couldn't beat them for like 4 years.
Pish posh. Well, that's in the past.
So,
the past.
I mean, like Ryan Day, the first drive of the game, it's like 4th and 2 on Ohio State's 47. I think any other game he goes for that, but since it's Michigan, big game, early in the game, I think it's a smart to play field position. I've seen him get some shit for not going for it there. The analysts probably said go, but he was gonna trust the defense, which has gotten so much better for Ohio State.
All right, all right, all right, all right.
What?
Let's move on. Yeah, you're just rambling at this point.
Oh, okay. Well, okay.
You're,
At the end of the day, it was a great game, back and
there you
forth.
go.
That's what you want.
That's
Michigan,
outrageous.
Michigan proved itself. I think tonight when we watch the rankings, Michigan should be the number 1 team in the country.
I've been saying that, boys. I've been
So
saying it.
that's the recap of the week. Now let's go on to
this week in college football. Washington, Oregon, first up on the list. Speaking of the devil, we got Bo Nix on the screen. Washington versus Oregon. Oregon's only loss, as we know, is to Washington. Oregon's favored by 9.5. Now, first, as a betting man, take Washington plus the points. There's no shot in hell Oregon beats them by 10. Not a chance in hell. I do not care who you think you are. If you're taking Oregon plus 9.5, you have a mental disability. Washington has struggled of late. Had a struggle versus Washington State. It's a rivalry game. I get that one. Kind of struggled against some other teams. Oregon, meanwhile, has been rolling. Washington almost losing to Oregon State. Granted, it's at home, but
and it was raining. It was cold. I mean, the condition wasn't nice, but
yeah.
I don't want to put excuses out there.
But Oregon stomps Oregon State. Stomps them. Oregon's been rolling. I mean, absolutely rolling through teams since that loss at Washington. I mean,
and since that loss to Washington, Oregon's defense, because we know this year I'd say the Pac-12 defense has been pretty god awful.
Oh yeah.
They can't play either. They can't play
Oregon's
defense.
Great defense.
Oregon's defense has been getting better since the loss to Washington, and Washington's defense has been getting worse.
Yeah, they are just.
And so has the offense. I mean, Michael Penix has kind of fallen off a little bit. I think last week or a couple weeks ago, I think he's the Heisman, but I've seen him playing as of recent.
Jalen Daniels is the Heisman. I said that 2 weeks ago. I still think it now.
I'd say right now for me, I don't know. It's tough.
Jalen Daniels. I'm not saying it's for you, but for me, it's Jalen Daniels.
It's really tough because Bo Nix and Jalen Daniels have really good years. I'd probably go Bo Nix just because his team's better. That kind of matters a little bit. Because tell me the last time a 3-loss player won the Heisman Trophy.
I have no idea.
So,
all right, let's move on here. Or actually, I have Oregon winning 42-38 in a bit of a shootout.
I've got Washington getting the win, gonna put themselves in the playoff. I've got them winning. Let's go 49-42.
Go Ducks.
Washington.
Okay. Texas versus Oklahoma State.
Mm-hmm.
Texas had a few close games outside of Texas Tech. They blew them out, but they've had a few close games. TCU, K-State, Iowa State was a pretty tight one.
But, okay, I want to touch on that.
Just hold on.
No.
Hold on.
No,
let me.
No,
fuck
no.
you. But this Texas, I don't.
No.
But for Texas, I don't think it's going to be a problem. OSU, I don't think it's that good.
Okay, it might not be a problem, but this, with the close games.
Don't make excuses.
If this comes to being a close game, I think Texas will be battle-tested with all these close games they've had this year.
Here's the problem with you being in close games with shitty teams is it doesn't look really good.
But they find a way to win. They find a way to win. I know it's against not very good teams, but
it's not like you're playing number 10 team in the nation and almost losing.
Looking at how the committee sees, all they care about is the win. Did you win the game?
They care about eye test. Do you think you guys look real good in those games?
Well,
you didn't look good against TCU.
But I think winning the game means more eye test, because if we're going off eye test, Alabama should be a top 3 team in the country.
They also now have the resume. If they go and beat Georgia, they now have the eye test and the resume.
Well, they won't go unless other stuff
Alabama
happens.
has beaten 3 ranked opponents by 2 possessions. A
I know.
pop.
Well, we'll talk about that once
You
the
kidding me?
rankings come out.
LSU, Ole Miss, and Tennessee all by 2 possessions. 2 of
Tennessee,
those games were away.
Tennessee shouldn't be ranked.
Well, they were.
Um,
K-State shouldn't have been ranked.
so as you know, this is coming from a Texas fan. I think Texas will boat race Oklahoma State. The only person that worries me in Oklahoma State is Ollie Gordon. But I think with Texas' great front seven, Tavondre Sweat, what's the other guy's name? Byron, I think it's Byron Murphy. And then the linebackers, you got Jalen Ford and you got Anthony Hill. I think they'll contain him. I don't think they're going to stop him. I think they're going to contain him.
Texas hasn't been good on OSU. I don't think it will be a problem. I obviously think Texas gets the win, unless a miracle occurs where OSU pulls it out. I don't know how. I've seen it before. Haven't seen it in recent years. OSU has a great running attack, as he just mentioned. Ollie Gordon, probably the best running back in the country.
I don't know, man. Blake Coleman's pretty good.
He is pretty good. I mean, he's not putting up Ollie Gordon numbers.
He is putting touchdown numbers up, though.
I just think Texas is overall the better team here. I don't really think there's a lot of arguing going on around there, around that subject. I've got Texas winning 35-24.
I've got Texas winning their first Big 12 championship since 09. I've got them winning 35-14.
Imagine you don't win. That'd be funny. That'd be hilarious.
I mean, it'd be typical Texas.
Now we got a little bit of a boat race action with Big Blue here. Michigan versus Iowa. Michigan, great football team, as we just saw, versus Ohio State. It just seems like they're the full package. I mean, they've got offense, they've got defense, they've got Blake Corum, they've got that spectacular defense on the other side of them, shutting down Kyle McCord. I wouldn't say shutting down Travion Henderson, but they contained him enough. Iowa, on the flip side, Iowa, very, very good defense.
They can't score.
They cannot score. I think their last game was 13-10.
If
MOB teams score more than that.
If they can somehow keep it close, now I think if a team like Iowa, when you keep the score close,
they will keep it close. Their defense is really
if
good.
you can keep it close throughout the game, maybe a touchdown game or a 3-point game, watch out for Iowa, because I mean it just takes a little momentum like that for them to get the lead. A big play. But Iowa, like you said, good defense, shitty offense. If they have to contain J.J. McCarthy's playmaking ability, him getting out of the pocket, extending plays with his legs, and then also for them, I think they have to shut down Roman Wilson, the wide receiver for Michigan.
That's a hard task.
Well, Iowa defense is really good, and then offensively, they're going to have to play keep away. I think their offense is going to be their best defense in this game versus Michigan. They're going to have to hopefully get the. If I'm Iowa, I wouldn't toss. I want the ball first. So I have an opportunity to go score, get a lead.
Score.
Iowa
fans don't know what the word score means.
That's why I said opportunity.
They still don't create
opportunities. Maybe you get score, maybe you get 3-point lead, and it's 7, and it stays around. If Iowa can keep Michigan under 17 points, they have a good shot at winning the game.
The game line is 23 minus for Michigan. Now, I'm all for Michigan, but 23 points is a lot of points. If any of you bet out there, Iowa plus 23. Trust me, their defense is good enough to not let them beat them by 23. I hope.
Because the last time they played, I think Michigan won by 10.
Yeah. I do have Michigan winning 38-20, though. They don't cover, but I still haven't beaten them by a good amount.
I've got Michigan winning 28-10.
Wow. That's kind of fair.
Yes.
Louisville, Florida State.
I think this could be the biggest upset.
Really good game here. Florida State coming off a tight win over Florida. On the flip side of that, Louisville coming off a loss to Kentucky. Also,
I feel like Louisville's going to be hungry for just wanting to get back.
As we know, Jordan Travis got hurt 2 weeks ago. Louisville has an awesome running attack. We saw that versus Notre Dame. We actually saw that versus Kentucky. We've seen it throughout the year. We know what they're like. We know what they're going to try to do. They're going to try to run the football just like Oklahoma State. They don't run it as well, in my eyes, as Oklahoma State, but they're going to do it. They're going to run. They're going to run. They're going to run. And as we saw, if you watch the Florida State game, Florida State, Etienne, the little brother of Travis Etienne, gashed him. He had a lot of big plays. Despite that fact, I am going FSU in a tight game, 24-17 for Louisville.
I'll take.
Or not Louisville, sorry, Florida State.
I've got Louisville getting the upset. I've got them winning 35-28. But I want to touch on last week's game for Florida State. It shows, I feel like Florida State keeping that game close shows that they desperately need Jordan Travis. The team, they ran through him, losing him, big, huge loss.
But, like you said, it's not about if it's tight, it's about if they win.
Know.
And they found a way to win. And I think they'll find a way to win versus Louisville.
The committee also, they do put injuries on who played and who didn't play into account, but not heavily.
How do you know?
Because they talked about it the first week.
Really?
That's what they said.
Do they?
Yes,
they
actually. What they said. Yes.
They actually.
So that I like I said, I got Louisville winning 35-28. Now I think biggest game of the day, SEC championship, Alabama Georgia. Let's get into
touch that. Alabama Georgia, one of my SEC title, one of my favorite, probably the favorite title game to watch if Oklahoma is not in the Big 12 title. Alabama coming off a very close win over Auburn. Got the Milrow throw, whatever the hell they're calling it down there in Alabama. 4th and 30. Georgia coming off a tight win versus Georgia Tech. Now I think Auburn's a better team than Georgia Tech, but we're going to keep it rolling. Georgia seems to be the best team in the country in my mind if they want to. We've seen them had a close game with Auburn, had some tight games, and then they'll go on this tear, just beating the brakes off teams. It seems, and sometimes they're inconsistent a lot of the times to me. With their cockroach quarterback, I really just get sick and tired of seeing him win. And but since the Alabama and Texas game, when Alabama lost in a heartbreaker, they have just gotten better, and better, and better, and better again. They have beat 3 ranked opponents, as I mentioned earlier, by 3 or 2 possessions. Are you kidding me? I don't think anybody else has done that. Beating teams by 2 possessions, 1 at home versus Tennessee, or 2 at home, and then 1 away at Ole Miss, who was ranked 10 at the time. Unbelievable stuff. They beat Jalen Daniels and the LSU Tigers.
Well, LSU can't play defense. But
it doesn't matter.
This
they're still a good team.
This Georgia team can. And I would say the key for Georgia is they have to keep. I'd say you have to let Milrow beat you with his arm, even though he's shown he can.
There's no way you can't contain him.
He's shown you can. You have to force Jalen Milrow to not extend plays with his legs, use his legs to get first downs. You're gonna have to have him beat you by throw. Like I would play Milrow how I would play Lamar Jackson. Keep him contained in the pocket with a good up the middle rush. Just keep the pocket collapsing it, and the ends not to lose. Go way the fuck out there, and let him beat you with his arm. Make Burton show you why he's a top end wide receiver.
I mean, to discredit your point there, I mean, make him beat him with your arm. He's done it to teams.
I know
before,
he has.
And I think he'll do it again. He did it to Auburn. He did it to LSU. He did it to all those ranked opponents.
But
the only team he didn't do that to is Texas. But when
you tell me those teams like Auburn, Ole Miss, they don't have the defense like Georgia does.
It's still the SEC. Tennessee's got a great defense. LSU, not really a great defense. And Ole Miss, it doesn't have a terrible defense.
I don't know.
Auburn doesn't have the greatest defense.
Georgia has a top 5 defense in the country, not does Ole Miss.
I get that, but you forget who you're talking about here. You're talking about the Alabama Crimson Tide.
I know.
They've done it before.
And I hope that they pull out the win. You know?
I've heard this conversation too many times to count. I've seen everybody saying, Georgia's this good. Georgia's this, Georgia's that. Georgia's got the great defense. They got the great offense. They've got Bennett. They've got whoever. They got Fromm. They've got all these guys. And yet, when it comes down to it, Alabama finds a way to win. It happens almost every single year. They find a way to win. And that's what I have them doing. I have Alabama in a very tight game in an upset. And you know what? We're going to make another bet. Alabama wins. If they don't, I wear a Georgia jersey or whatever on the podcast. Or we'll think of something here more intense.
Yeah. I got this is a close game. I'm gonna take Alabama.
Wow.
Upset, just because I'm putting my money on what I need for Texas to make the playoff. I need an Alabama upset over Georgia.
You need a Georgia win.
No, we don't.
Yeah, you do.
Here's how this is gonna work.
You need a Georgia win.
No.
Yeah.
Oh fuck.
You can get a Georgia win.
So I've got if Washington beats Oregon, which I think will happen.
Okay, well, you have to have that happen first.
Michigan will beat Iowa,
Okay.
and Texas should beat Oklahoma State.
Okay.
If that happens, you have an undefeated Washington team and an undefeated Michigan team. They're in for sure. In. If Louisville can beat Florida State, there's another undefeated team out.
So you need 2 upsets.
And then if Bama beats Georgia, I think if Louisville beats Florida State or Bama beats Georgia, Texas is in.
Now let's look at this scenario. I'm gonna tell you what I think about Texas. Obviously, they have to win their conference championship first. That's obviously number one. Second of all, you obviously need Washington to win. Big ass there, because Oregon's a real good team. You need Florida State to lose, obviously. And if all that happens and Alabama beats Georgia, you're going to look me in the eye and tell me you're going to put a 12-1 Texas in over a 12-1 Georgia. Yep.
Because Texas beat them at the beginning of the year.
Georgia.
Oh,
here we go. We've got some college football play. We'll continue this
rankings. Later. Okay, top. I mean, I don't really care about 20.
Kansas State at 25, Liberty 24, Clemson at 23, Tulane at 22, and Tennessee at 21. Kansas State dropped 6. Oh, they lost.
That game was cool though. The snow game. That was really cool. I liked that. I love it when the game I really wish in 2 years ago at Ann Arbor it was snowing during the Ohio State Michigan game.
Oh, yeah. All right, number 20 Oregon State. NC State at 19. NC State at 19. Oklahoma State at 18. Notre Dame 17. Iowa at 16.
I haven't heard much about Notre Dame this year.
Ever since they
lost to Ohio State, they've just been quiet. Very quiet.
They were good. Ever since they lost to Louisville, they were kind of non-existent anymore.
Iowa 16.
That's crazy.
Got to prop up Michigan a little more. Okay.
Arizona at 15. Louisville goes all the way down to 14. LSU at 13. Oklahoma at 12. Ole Miss at 11.
Like I said, look at the 12-team playoff next year. Oklahoma's the first team out.
I think that's stupid that a rule or a two-lane
group of 5 team.
Yeah, that's so stupid.
They have to show that it's not all about the Power 5.
It should be. It's why it's called the Power 5.
It shouldn't be. Then why did Cincinnati get in 2 years ago?
Because they were undefeated and they had some ranked wins. They beat number 5 Notre Dame. You see Tulane doing that? No.
They beat USC last year.
Doing that?
They beat USC last year.
You see Liberty? You see JMU beating these highly ranked opponents in the regular season? No.
10.
Penn State. Is Penn State. They move up 1.
It's fine. I'm cool with that.
CU's at 9.
I wonder.
I want to say Missouri.
How far? How far are they going to drop Ohio State after the loss?
To 6.
6.
I bet you they don't move the 8 people. I say 6 or 5. 1 or 2.
6 or 5.
I don't think they. There's no chance you drop Ohio State that low. You don't drop them past Texas.
We'll find out here because they'd sneak them right here because they'd put them.
Alabama is going to be at 8 here. There's no way.
Missouri's at 9, by the way. You know,
Missouri is at 9 at 10-2. They moved down. No, they didn't move. Alabama ain't gonna move. Big Blue is gonna be. I want them to be number one. I think they should be, especially after a close win to Georgia or against close win for Georgia. They're chit chatting on the television.
They're chatting.
Alabama at number 8, 11-1.
So Texas will be at 7.
Texas is going to be at 7.
We'll probably be sliding at 7.
Unless we get a surprise here and Ohio State's at 7.
I don't think so. I don't think they'll do that.
You're not mad about that?
No, I didn't think they were going to move Ohio State all the way down to 8.
My prediction before they come out with it, okay, Texas is at 7 at 11-1. I think my prediction is going to be Michigan, Georgia, Washington, Florida State.
Who's 5?
Oregon.
Who's 6?
Ohio State.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about Ohio State. I forgot about them.
All right, here we go.
I mean, you're probably right. I mean, I'm not. Well, the ones we care about come out next Sunday.
Now, before we get into this, before we get into the top 6, oh, here we go. Nope, never mind. Kirk's on screen now. You're going to look me in the eye. You're going to tell me a 12-1 Georgia is going to not be in the college football playoff, and a 12-1 Texas is.
Yes.
If all that happens, to be honest.
Yes.
If Washington and Florida State don't lose, or if Florida State loses and Washington wins, you don't get in.
What?
If Oregon wins, you're not getting in.
What if Georgia loses?
So Oregon moves up, and let's say Florida State loses. I think Georgia's still there.
A non-champ.
It's the SEC, and they're 12-1. They still have a hell of a resume.
No way.
Even if I could see a way where Alabama gets in.
Well, you have to realize
I could see
Texas,
a very good way where Alabama gets in.
You have to think Texas is basically an SEC team now. They're just playing in the Big 12.
I have seen him talk about it. I've seen Joe Clark talk about it.
McElroy thinks Texas should be over Oregon.
I've seen him talk about the way I just basically explained on how Georgia and Alabama.
Let's see if they throw you a curveball.
Ohio State at 6. I'm right there. I'm correct.
Here
comes Oregon at 5.
You're probably going to be right. They didn't throw a curveball like they did last week and start at 1.
Yeah, they actually started at 6 this time. Here comes Oregon at 5.
They can't put a 1-loss non-champ over a 1-loss champ. They just can't. They can't because college football's been so good this year. Every conference has a good team coming out of it representing.
But you still need Oregon or Washington and Florida State.
Washington to win, Florida State to lose, and Georgia to lose.
You need all 3 of that.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable.
Oregon at 5. Oregon goes to 5.
Moving up 1. Number 4 is Florida State. Here we are. We've seen it before. The number 1 and number 2 is going to be very, very, very interesting to look at.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Georgia's at 1.
How does the committee value that Ohio State win?
No, it'd be how they value Georgia's run that they've had through this quote unquote gauntlet of a schedule that they've had.
It's more of how they value Michigan's win because they had a tight win versus Georgia Tech. I mean, Georgia Tech's a dog shit ass program.
I guess. I mean, Michigan had a close one with Maryland.
This is that rivalry. Florida State at 4. But did Georgia have a tight game and they go beat a top 14 in the nation?
They could if they beat Alabama.
Not top 14 in the nation.
Top 8.
Eye test says they are.
That's why you don't need to be on a committee because all you care about is eye test. That's all.
Eye test. They have the resume as well.
No, you
have a resume of a freaking top 14.
Who?
If they go and beat Georgia, they have a resume in the top 14.
They do.
They have a better resume than Michigan right now.
Washington.
They have a 10 times better resume.
Washington comes in at 3.
They have a better resume than them.
Oregon, really?
And Michigan. Alabama has a better resume than number 5, number 3, number 4, number 2, if they're at 2.
I guess. Okay. That's a hot one out there.
It's a hot one. They beat 3 ranked opponents by 2 possessions. Who have you seen that's beaten
You
a
already
top
asked me
20
this.
opponent? How many have you seen?
They put Michigan at 2
Okay.
and Georgia at 1.
All right.
I'm okay with these.
Yeah.
I'm not. I see no problem with these. I think this is going to change drastically next week. Even if let's say Florida, the Texas fan, I think Texas will be either 5 or 6 next week.
Well, also on the college football playoff, what is the goal of the playoff? The 14 playoff. What's the goal?
To win a national championship.
No, like what is the goal? You got to put the 4 best teams in.
Okay. Yeah.
You think Georgia's better than? You think Texas is better than Georgia?
No. But
you got to put the 4 best teams.
They can't just say they can't just go. I think that they can't just go. Okay, well,
I know, but Georgia still has a better resume, and they have the eye test. That's what this thing has been based on.
But okay,
this entire year is eye test and resume. And Georgia has a better resume,
they
have the eye
You're
test.
not hearing me. They're not going to put, with how good college football has been this year, they are not going to put a one-loss non-champion of your own fucking conference over a champion of a conference. They aren't going to do it with how good the college football teams have been this year.
I can see them doing it. It's the SEC. I've seen them do it before.
Texas is basically an SEC team. They're going to the SEC next year.
They're not basically an SEC.
Yes, they are. They are going to the SEC next year.
What conference championship are they playing for?
They're an SEC team just covered up by what conference they play for. They're already packed up, ready to move.
If they're ready, if they're good, they're gonna play. Are they playing the SEC title game?
No, because because they had to wait. They had to wait. They have to wait to go in next year.
Yeah, I get you gotta wait. But look, I mean, they're in the Big 12 right now. They're not in the SEC.
Okay, let's look at this. If Alabama beats Georgia, Texas beat the SEC champion this year.
Georgia still has the resume in the eye test.
No, but head to head and who you beat, when you beat them, that all matters.
It does matter.
And that's why if Alabama wins against Georgia, Alabama will never leap Texas unless Texas loses another game. They will never leap them.
I can see that.
It's not going to happen.
I'm not saying Bama's going to get in. I'm saying I wouldn't be surprised if Georgia just goes to number 4. They would not be surprised if that happened.
I promise you they're not going to do that.
But also, as a Texas fan, you got to realize a lot's got to happen.
But it's not. It's a lot, but it could happen. It's a likely chance of it could happen.
It could happen. I give you like a 25% chance of it all happening and it all coming together.
Hey, there's a chance.
Yeah, there's a chance.
So that will.
I mean, I've seen scenarios where Ohio State somehow sneaks in. If Oregon loses and Florida State, I mean, no, it could go up. It could go up.
They'd have to have Texas lose, Oregon would have to lose, Florida State would have to lose, Bama would have to lose.
Bama would not have to lose.
Yes, they would. Because look, Georgia won.
Bama would jump them.
See, so all right. Well, the big one is next Sunday.
Yeah, the one where I'm going to be right.
We'll find out after a good weekend of championship football.
Wait, I got a little message here.
Oh yeah, we forgot about these little fucks over there in the Hat Trick Sports Podcast.
We're real uptight here. Okay, real uptight. I'm smiling because I'm so happy. I talked shit about your podcast, which, by the way, still dog shit.
My comment is the most liked comment on their TikTok post, where the guy said that the Bills were going to win the fucking Super Bowl next year.
Number one, you guys posted us saying, "Oh, these guys are right." Oh yeah, all that sarcasm. Then you don't even have the balls to keep it up.
They kept it up for like 20 minutes.
You don't have to. I have a screen job. I'll post it, and you guys are just pussies. Let your balls drop off. Let them drop off. Number two, don't get your daddy to fight your battles for you. Come comment with yourself. Don't have your 50-year-old dad. And by the way, what the fuck are you doing on TikTok? You geriatric fuck. Get off TikTok, dude. Get out of here. I want to see your ass again. Next, if you think the Bills are the best team in the NFL, you're taking fucking crack. You're snorting it up. Okay? I'm going to post this. And if you respond, you better keep it up. Keep that post up. Don't be a little bitch and take it down. I'm sick of it. Sick of you guys. Cause the only reason I'm sick of it, you talk shit, back it up. Keep it up for everybody to see. Don't take it down, and then you look like a coward, because you are a bunch of cowards. You're a bunch of cowards. And your dad is, get him off TikTok. Get him out. And next, he doesn't need to be on your podcast. He's a dumbass. All of you are. That's all I have to say. Good night.